Did you know that the average applicant applies to 16 medical schools? With the AAMCAS application costing about $170 to apply to the first program and $40 for each additional program you apply to, and the AACOMAS application costing about $200 to apply for the first program and $50 for each additional program you apply to, that is hundreds to thousands of dollars that form an obstacle in the already grueling process of applying to medical school. According to a 2018 AAMC analysis looking at the parental income data of U.S. medical school matriculants from 2007 to 2017, more than 75% of medical students come from families in the top 40% of family income. This means that although it is important to be a strong applicant in terms of academics, extracurriculars, etc., the ability to pay to even apply is a factor that unfortunately needs to be taken into consideration. So here are 5 ways for you to save money when applying to medical school. I will start off with the method that can save you the most money, waivers. Both the AAMCAS and the AACOMAS have fee waivers that you can apply to. However, these benefits do not apply retroactively, which means that they will only apply to fees that you will pay after you've been approved by these programs. So if you've already applied and paid for the med school application process, then these waivers will not be reimbursing you. So I'll start off with the AAMCAS Fee Assistance Program. The exact benefits change from year to year, but they're fairly similar in terms of what they provide. In terms of this year, they provide the following: the MCAT Official Prep Online Only Bundle, which provides you with question banks, practice exams, and flashcards, which can be very useful when studying. You get a reduced MCAT registration fee. Generally, to register for the MCAT, it costs about $325. With the waiver, that number is lowered down to $130, so you save about $195. You also get a 2-year subscription to MSAR, which stands for Medical School Admission Requirements. This is a very useful online database that shows you the requirements and statistics of all the med schools in the US for MD med schools, at least. So you can look at this database and see the requirements for each school, as well as the median GPA and average MCAT of the accepted matriculants, so you can kind of compare your own stats and see where you might fall. The most important part is the AAMCAS fee waiver, which allows you to apply to 20 MD schools for free. This has a value of about $970, which is a lot of money. Lastly, you also get a waiver for the AAMC Preview Professional Readiness Exam, which is a standardized exam that some medical schools will require you to take to apply, and it essentially assesses your readiness to deal with different issues related to professionalism when in med school. This has a value of about $100, so in total, with everything that this waiver includes, you can save over $1,500, which is no small fee. And if you unfortunately do not get accepted your first cycle, you are eligible to be awarded this waiver up to a max of 5 times. So who's eligible to apply? To apply, you need to have a permanent US address, you need to have some sort of identification, you also need your parents' financial information. If you are under the age of 26 at the time of your medical school application submission, unless your parents are unfortunately no longer with us. You also need to have various financial documents showing that you meet the poverty guidelines of this program. These can be documents like your tax return, financial aid reward letter, etc. So make sure you have these ready when you apply. Moving on to the AACOMAS fee waiver program, here are the following benefits for this year. The $198 application fee for the first program is waived. However, that does mean that you need to pay the $50 for each additional program that you want to apply to. You also get access to their big interview platform, which is a platform that helps you prepare for interviews. I'm not sure exactly which subscription option they provide you with, but there are 3, so you save approximately $40 to $80. So in total, you save about $250 plus with the AACOMAS fee waiver. Although the AAMCAS fee waiver is obviously a lot more generous with its benefits, I do recommend applying to both if you will be applying to both MD and DO schools, because obviously the more money you save, the better, but also because interview prep is not included in the AAMCAS fee waiver, and that can be very helpful during the application process. I do want to mention a caveat for the AACOMAS fee waiver though. Once you are approved, you do have to submit your application within 14 days of that approval. So do not apply for this waiver unless you are ready to submit your med school application within 2 weeks of getting accepted. Otherwise, the $198 fee will not be waived. So to apply for the AACOMAS fee waiver, you first have to start the AACOMAS application through their website. Once you have that started, you go ahead and click your name on the upper right hand corner and select the fee assistance program. And then you select whether you were a dependent or independent based on your latest tax return. If you were a dependent, then you merely submit your parent or guardian's tax return. And if you were an independent, you have to submit both your tax return as well as your parent or guardian's tax return. And here's a chart they use to determine if you come from an economically disadvantaged background. Once you submit your application, you have to wait about a week before you hear back. And if you are approved, remember that you have 14 days to submit your application. Otherwise, you'll have to forfeit your waiver and lose all that work you put in, so make sure you submit it on time. Alright, so that's it for both the AAMCAS and the AACOMAS fee waivers. I've included links for the specific program details down below. You can check that out for any questions you may have regarding details of your specific financial situation. I do highly recommend you apply for these programs if you think you're eligible, because it can save you a lot of money. It's often recommended that if you want to get accepted into medical school, you should apply to as many schools as possible and broaden your list so that you increase your chances of getting in. While this is true to a certain extent, it is not necessary to apply to any and all schools that you're eligible for, unless you have the financial means to do so, of course, which, if you're watching this video, I'm assuming you don't. So make sure you do very careful and meticulous research into each and every single med school that you apply to. For example, if the average GPA and MCAT of the accepted matriculants of a certain med school are much higher than where your stats are currently, then chances are you don't want to apply to too many of those reach schools because your chances of acceptance are not very high. This is where the MSAR tool is very useful so that you can compare your stats to those of applicants and matriculants of that school. Furthermore, if you are an out-of-state student, you want to look at the acceptance rates for in-state versus out-of-state students. For example, if a school has an acceptance rate of 99% in-state students, then chances are, regardless of how good of an applicant you are, you're not going to be accepted as an out-of-state student, so there's no point in applying to those schools. This also applies to schools that are historically Black or have a religious affiliation. It doesn't mean that you won't get accepted if you don't fit that certain demographic, but it does mean that the chances are the school focuses on getting students of that demographic, so that is something to take into consideration if you do consider to apply and you don't fit that demographic. Similarly, you want to look into whether a school has a huge focus on research or community service. If you lack either of those on your application, chances are you don't want to apply to that school. And very importantly, you also want to make sure you meet the specific requirements of each med school. So for example, look at the letter of recommendations that they require. Some DO schools require a letter of rec from a DO physician, or they require a letter of rec from like a council from your school, like the pre-health committee or something. And if you don't meet that, then, you know, don't apply to that school, because then it'll just be a waste of money. Also look at the course credits that they require for each school. For example, I was automatically rejected from a school that I applied to because they required 3 semester credits of math. I applied with 4 quarter units of math, and that translated to 2.67 semester credits. So I did not meet that requirement because I unfortunately did not look meticulously enough at the quarter versus semester credit, and that was automatically rejected. That was a waste of money that I could have spent using to apply to another med school or to, you know, treat myself to burrito. So in essence, just really make sure that you do your research on each school, that your stats are at least fairly similar to the applicants, that you meet their mission statement, etc. That way you're not using your limited funds to spend on schools for which your chances of acceptance are very low. However, if you do have the means to and are debating about whether you should apply to more schools, I obviously highly recommend that you do so. You will be spending more money now, but by doing so, you'll increase your chances of getting accepted into a med school your first time, and that'll save you more money in the future, because if you unfortunately don't get in, then that means you have to spend more money applying in future cycles. So this tip won't technically save you money when applying to med school, but I decided to include it because it could save you hundreds of thousands in tuition, so I figured why not include it. There are a few med schools in the US that will either waive all of or at least a portion of tuition, sometimes depending on financial need or academic merit, so if these aren't already on your list, I do recommend including them. My next tip includes credit card bonuses and rewards, which are essentially bonuses that you get when you apply for a new credit card and or you spend a certain amount of money within a limited time frame. To start off, unlike the previous tips I've mentioned, there is a certain level of risk with signing up for credit card bonuses, so this tip is definitely not for everyone. If you have a history of getting into credit card debt, then this tip is not for you. Otherwise, any of the bonuses that you accrue from either getting a new credit card or from meeting the minimum spending requirement will be mitigated by the accrued interest that you'll have to pay for any unpaid balances. For instance, the average APR, or annual percentage rate, which is one way of measuring interest that credit cards have, is about 15%, which is not a small amount. So if you have a history of accruing credit card debt, then this tip is definitely not for you, because you may actually end up paying more money to the credit card company than you save from these bonuses. Additionally, and very, very, very importantly, you have to meet the requirements that these credit card companies set out for you to get your bonus. For example, many credit card companies have what's called a minimum spending requirement. So let's say to get a $100 bonus, you have to spend $500 within the first month of getting your credit card. So that means that if you spend $499 within the first month, or you only spend at least $500 within 32 days, then you do not get the bonus. So it's very important that you meet this requirement. The reason credit card companies offer these bonuses are obviously because they make money off of them. Otherwise, if they're losing money, they wouldn't offer these. And the reason they make money is because people don't pay off their balance in full, and they accrue debts and they accrue interest, and they have to pay more money than they would actually get. And they don't meet the minimum spending requirement. So the credit card company doesn't even need to give you your bonus because you don't meet the requirements. So again, very, 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 very important that you pay off your balance in full each month for your credit card, and that you meet the minimum spending requirements. In regards to which is the best credit card to sign up for to get these bonuses, there are lots and lots of options out there on the market. So I highly recommend doing your own research, because terms and fees and all that change all the time. And also to find one that fits your particular financial situation. So definitely do your own research. However, for the purpose of this video, the example I'll be using is the Chase Sapphire Preferred card, because it's a very popular option among those that are first starting to look into credit card rewards and bonuses. So with this card, you'll get charged a $95 annual membership fee, but you'll get 60,000 bonus points after you spend $4,000 in purchases in the first 3 months after opening. Many medical schools are still conducting their interviews online this year, but for future applicants, or for those of you that will be attending in-person interviews, this travel bonus is very useful when booking flights and hotels for out-of-state interviews. This credit card also gives you extra points when spending on dining, grocery shopping, etc. I forgot the exact details, but I'll leave a link down in the description box below so you can look at those bonuses. Also, if you want to avoid the $95 annual membership fee for next year, if you don't plan to continue to use the rewards program, then you can downgrade to the Chase Freedom Unlimited or another no annual fee card so that you can avoid paying that membership fee. So again, the Chase Sapphire Preferred card is the example that I gave for this video, but I do highly recommend doing your own research so you can find the best credit card for you. There is a concept known as credit card churning, which is when you sign up for multiple credit cards so that you can take advantage of multiple rewards and bonuses, and you just keep signing up for credit cards. However, this is a lot trickier and riskier, so it's not necessarily something I recommend doing just for this one application cycle, especially because if you're applying to med school, chances are it won't take more than a few $1,000s max, and depending on the credit card you sign up for and the minimum spending requirement, that should be enough for one application cycle. However, this can be something you want to look into, because the amount of rewards and bonuses that you accrue during med school can be very useful when applying to residency and showing up for interviews for that. I'm not a financial expert, so I won't be delving into that in this video, but Dr. Kevin Jubbal and various other YouTubers have good videos on that. There's also various subreddits and various online forums and articles, so you can look into that yourself. Whether it comes to MCAT prep materials or interview attire, try to take advantage of as many free and or used resources as possible. Of course, you want to look professional and present your best self when going to a med school interview. However, it's not necessary to spend thousands of dollars on interview attire if that's not something you already have. So long as your clothes fit you well, you're generally going to look professional and well put together, regardless of whether your outfit came from a high-end boutique or from your local thrift store. Same goes for MCAT and interview prep material. If you can get those resources used, then that's great. You can also use your library card to check out MCAT prep materials if your library has that, and just use pre-made Anki decks to reinforce that material when studying. Also, definitely look into applying for scholarships. The national scholarships tend to be more competitive because the application pool is so much larger, but if you're able to do research and find a scholarship that's local to your state, your city, or community, then your chances of getting that scholarship are a lot higher. So start doing your research and writing essays, because a lot of the essay prompts tend to be fairly similar. So once you start to apply to one, you can keep applying to multiple. Take advantage of these scholarships because they're essentially free money for you to use when applying for med school and even in med school itself. And last but not least, look online or even for people in your own life that you can ask for help in regards to applying for the application process. I know that the AACOMAS fee waiver does give you access to the big interview platform to help you prepare for interviews. However, if you do not get approved for that waiver, that doesn't mean that you can't ask a friend or a family member or a colleague or just someone you know to help conduct a mock interview with questions that I'll list in the description box below to help you simulate that environment and help you prepare for your interview. I myself have helped friends with their interview process, and there's no need to pay when you can have people in your life that are willing to help you for free, and of course you want to thank them. And also I've helped friends as well as a lot of strangers online who've reached out to me asking for help with personal statements. So if that's something you need help with, go ahead and feel free to shoot me an email. All I ask is that you do the following. First, go ahead and watch this video that I have regarding personal statement tips so that you can use these tips and revise your own essay, and then let me know which specific revisions you made so that I can see what you've improved on yourself. I find it's a lot more efficient if you've already made revisions and improvements to your own draft before I take a look at it. After you're done with those revisions, go ahead and send me a link to the Google Doc and make sure that it's editable by anyone, or you can also directly make me one of the editors so that I can comment on or directly edit your personal statement as necessary. I tend to mainly leave comments because I don't want to change your essay in any way that you don't want to be changed. However, if there's like a comma here and there, I will, add that. And also, if there are any specific areas that you want me to look at, go ahead and let me know. So let's say you want to see if you're addressing the prompt correctly, if your grammar needs some help, then go ahead and let me know in the comments so that I am aware of which specific areas you would like me to focus on. And lastly, please be patient. I've had someone that kind of hammered me and got frustrated that I didn't get back to them within a day, which I considered fairly impolite, especially since I'm doing this for free. Of course, I am happy to help out for free. However, please understand that, I have my rough days and rough weeks and my schedule changes. Give me some time to get back to you. And that is all. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found these tips helpful. If any of you have any additional tips, please leave them down below in the comments because I'm sure many of us will find that very helpful. Thanks for watching, and I will see you another Sunday. Until then, I surely hope that you'll take care of your health.